Yanjing. In an apartment building in a wealthy area. Louis Fei, who will turn 16 in 2 months, nests in the sofa, holding a large cup with a pyramid salad made of bananas, apples, papayas, and other fruits. What was shown on the TV screen was her first work, The Family of Gold Powder, which should be the first film and television work to be precise. After all, she had also filmed advertisements before, which was for her godfather Chun Jinfei's Jinfei apartment, as a spokesperson. Looking at Bai Xiuzhu in the picture, Louis Fei couldn't help but smile and seemed to remember what happened during the filming again, but after a while, she suddenly became expressionless, the same as Bai Xiuzhu in the picture. "Mom, come over here." Hearing her daughter's voice, Lu Xiaoli came out of the kitchen. "What's wrong?" "Mom, you have been an actor. I want to ask you if acting is important to an actor?" Lu Xiaoli was stunned on the spot. Why do you ask this?" "I just want to know," looking at Bai Xiuzhu. "Many people on the internet say that she is very beautiful, but there are also many people who say that she can't move, has no expression, and has no acting skills at all." When filming Tianlong Babu, Director Zhang first asked me to learn about the actor Li Ruodong in Xiangjiang, but then when filming started, he asked me not to make expressions. What he meant was that my acting skills were too poor. Lu Xiaoli didn't know how to answer her daughter's question. Seeing that her mother didn't speak, Louis Fei was not stupid, so she naturally understood what it meant. She said with some distress, "Mom, do you think I should study at Nortel for 2 years and supplement my acting knowledge? You and my godfather always told me not to have too much interaction with my classmates, and now I don't have any friends at school and after class. Others gather in groups to discuss and communicate, so I can only go back to the dormitory or go home. I think I should be part of this big group. I don't want to be that wanderer. It's like going to school in the United States, and those white and black kids don't like to play with me." Lu Xiaoli looked at her daughter strangely. "Fei Fei, what's wrong with you today? Why are you so strange? Don't think about these questions. Now that you have a certain popularity, you will definitely be popular when Tianlong Babu is released. Now you are different from those classmates in school. What are they? They have only filmed a few dramas. Even if they have filmed a few films, have they become popular? When the special period is over, let your godfather find some high-quality resources, and after filming 1 or 2 TV series, we will enter the big screen. And the music industry, your godfather can contact RB's Sony company and let Sony give you a record in the future, and then we will go to Hollywood to develop, and Columbia Pictures is controlled by Sony. Fei Fei, in the future, you will become a Hollywood star, a world superstar. Those classmates of yours, they're at most in the Chinese circle. What is there to communicate with them? Be obedient. Don't worry about these. Just listen to my arrangements with peace of mind." Louis Fei sighed, and when she talked about Hollywood, she thought of the foreigner she met in the Forbidden City that day. Although he was very handsome, he said something hateful. Okay. Don't watch The Family of Gold Powder. After watching it, my mother will change the channel for you." Lu Xiaoli said and pressed the remote control, and the TV screen jumped to Yanjing Satellite TV, which was noon at this time, and the new news was being broadcast. "This station reports for you. At 9 o'clock in the morning, MGM Film and Television Company of the United States officially settled in Yanjing and will jointly establish Oriental MGM Company with China Film Group to start a cultural journey. MGM Pictures, as a long-established film and television production company in the United States, has produced a series of classic movies such as Gone with the Wind, Cat and Mouse, The Silence of the Lambs, and 007, and is a very powerful film company in Hollywood. The project is 51% owned by the Chinese side and 49% owned by the United States, and the first round of investment will reach $50 million, and the cooperation areas involve film technology research and development, film and television production, copyright distribution, derivative products, etc. MGM Film and Television will also establish a brand factory in Yanjing, with an investment of $40 million in the first phase of the factory, which is expected to create 2,000 jobs. At the same time, MGM Film and Television will also donate $2 million for China's anti-African cause, which reflects the social responsibility of large companies. Yanjing SJ Li XX, Yanjing SC Qin XX, MGM Film and Television Vice President Eric Cooper and MGM Huaxia head Susan Levine jointly pressed the Project Start button. If it was before, Lu Xiaoli naturally wouldn't care about this kind of news. She didn't even watch the news at all. It was too far away from her. But now it's different. Hearing that MGM Pictures and Television, as people who have lived in the United States for nearly a decade, both mother and daughter know that it represents the Big Seven in Hollywood, so they all stare at the TV screen. Then the screen jumped to Eric's interview, and Lu Yifei instantly pointed to the TV and shouted, "Mom, Mom, look at that person. It's the person we met in the Forbidden City." Lu Xiaoli also stared at it with wide eyes, and the mother and daughter were almost lying on the TV before they knew it, so they were sure that they were not mistaken. How can this be? This hateful guy turned out to be the vice president of MGM. How could it be such a coincidence? After being surprised, Lu Yifei suddenly covered her mouth and stared wide. "Wait, Mom, do you remember what happened that day?" "This Eric Cooper said that I can't go to Hollywood. Is it true that he said it?" Lu Xiaoli also looked embarrassed. After Eric left that day, she didn't know how many unpleasant words she scolded behind her back, but she didn't expect it to be a slap in the face. "Well, don't worry about this. Maybe people just say it casually. You also know that some Americans just have a sense of superiority, as if they are superior. Chinese, blacks, Indians, Mexicans are all second-class citizens in their eyes." Lu Yifei showed a far-fetched expression, but he also helped us take pictures that day, which seemed quite friendly, and he suggested that if you go to Hollywood, you should practice kung fu and acting skills. Maybe what he said is also reasonable. At this time, Lu Xiaoli was no longer listening to what her daughter said. Her eyes fell on the TV, looking at Eric's young and handsome face, and some thoughts couldn't help but appear in her heart. Picking up the mobile phone, Lu Xiaoli pressed down a string of numbers, and in the past 2 years, she has also participated in many dinner parties with Chen Jinfei, and the more she participated, she naturally accumulated some of her own contacts. At the same time, after 2 years, Lu Xiaoli has also understood one thing, that is, the entertainment industry and ZT are the most shameless places. Why do some people only have one meal with those who are in charge? They may not be the protagonist of the meal, and the leaders may not remember your name, but people can get things done. The reason is that people dare to go up. Even if there is only one side, these people dare to visit like old friends and then throw out a lot of money, and things are often done. The key lies in whether you dare to take this first step and whether you can be open-minded. Obviously, Lu Xiaoli is a very open-minded woman, and she is still a beautiful woman. P.S. The author has indeed met such a person around him. Fortress. Garden. A box on the second floor. Han Sanping and Zhou Xiaoping smoked with satisfied faces. Both of them drank more than 1.5 pounds, and the smell of alcohol was already read to the root of their ears. As soon as the project launch ceremony was held in the morning, MGM's preliminary funds were also received, and the general trend has been set, and the future can be expected, and a thick sum of money has been recorded in the credit book. Originally, at noon, Eric had already had a practice meal with Li SJ and them, and he was ready to fly back to the United States in the afternoon. However, Han Sanping and Zhou Xiaoping forced him to stay again, saying that they would add another game in the evening, which was really warm, so Eric decided to stay for one more day. As a result, it was the way it is now. Even if it wasn't liquor, Eric felt a little dizzy now, let alone the two of them. Especially Lao Han. His personality belongs to the bold type. He is only afraid that he will not be able to beat after drinking 2 caddies. Just look at the empty bottle next to him. Now the two of them are trembling, and their words are not good, and the dialect of their hometown is bubbling out. Eric stood up and looked at the two companions. Okay, let's stop here today. Dong Han and Director Zhou will ask you. I have also drunk a lot. Rest early. After speaking, Han Sanping didn't care if he wanted to reach out and pull him, so he walked out of the box directly and took the elevator back to his room. After taking a hot shower and lying in bed, the United States reported to itself every day, and few media have tracked the scandal about himself and Nicole Kidman. After all, Nicole Kidman is closed, and she is even more desperate, so she simply goes abroad to run away, and now the new gossip has occupied the high ground again. For example, Halle Berry publicly admitted to the media that her husband was cheating on her and that the two were about to divorce, and this gossip is now in the entertainment headlines, squeezing Eric and Nico down. The alcohol starts to kick in, and before you know it, Eric falls asleep. In the haze, it was as if I heard a knock on the door. Eric opened his eyes, only to realize that it was not a dream, but that someone was actually knocking on the door. Looking at the time, it was past midnight, almost 1 o'clock in the morning. What's the situation? Who came to knock on the door in the middle of the night? Could it be that Zhang Zi's Bichi hasn't died yet? Put on slippers and walked to the door. Looking through the cat's eyes, I saw a tightly wrapped woman standing at the door, but looking at the figure, I knew that it was not Zhang Zi. Ma'am, you knocked on the wrong door. This is not your room. No, I didn't knock wrong. You're Eric Cooper, the vice president of MGM, and I'm looking for you. Woman at the door said, and took off her mask and glasses, and the familiar face naturally went without saying, it must be Lu Xiaoli. Eric wondered how this woman could have known that she lived here and had come to the door. It turned out to be you, I said. This lady. Didn't I just say that your daughter is not suitable to go to Hollywood to develop? You don't need to find me in the middle of the night to take revenge. What do you want to do? Scold me? Or beat me? I warn you that this is a high-end place, and there is surveillance. Outside the door, Lu Xiaoli was speechless for a while, thinking to herself, where to follow? Can I, a weak woman, beat you? Or take revenge on you alone in the middle of the night for a strong man? Mr. Cooper, how could I have wanted to get revenge on you? I saw your news on TV today, and Fifi and I recognized who you were. Thinking of what you said that day, I made a special inquiry about your hotel and wanted to ask some questions. Some questions about Hollywood. I think you'll be able to give the perfect answer. Eric then understood that it was the news, but just by virtue of one side. This girl dared to come to the door alone in the middle of the night, and she was ruthless enough to be open-minded. This kind of person is naturally suitable for the entertainment industry. And the other party's purpose is very clear. What kind of bullshit to ask questions and deceive children? Ma'am, you didn't come at the right time. Please leave. It will cause misunderstanding if you are seen. And I've got a flight tomorrow morning, and I need to rest now, and if you don't go, I'm going to call the front desk. Wait, I have a business I want to talk to you about, a big deal. Outside the door, Lu Xiaoli hurriedly said. Hearing the big deal, Eric came to the heart and asked, what kind of deal, and how much is it worth? Sir, shouldn't you let me go in first? Click. Eric unlocked the door and let Lu Xiaoli in. The other party also took off his coat and hat, and the inside was similar to what William Z wore that night. It was a tight sweater, which highlighted her figure very much. Shaking her hair, Lu Xiaoli said, First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Lu Xiaoli. The young one is my daughter Louis Fei. Her English name is Crystal Lu. I want to thank the Forbidden City for what happened that day. You helped our mother and daughter take pictures, and I haven't had time to say thank you. You're welcome. It's nothing. I love helping people, especially beautiful women. Lu Xiaoli immediately covered her mouth and laughed. Are you American men so funny and humorous? It seems that everyone will say these things that make women happy. Looking at her but smiling with peach blossoms on her face, she was completely different from her attitude in the Forbidden City that day. Ms. Liu, just say something quickly. It's really not early. What projects do you have? Seeing that Eric was about to drive people out without saying a word, Lu Xiaoli couldn't help but curse in her heart. Damn, how can this be? I'll go back to the United States tomorrow. The reason why she came here tonight was only to seduce Eric and make this man covet her. Late at night is the time when people's desires are at their strongest, and her long years of dancing experience and beautiful face make her believe in her charm very much. But it's only limited to seducing, and it's impossible to let the other party eat it. As long as the other party is hooked and stretched for a while, the man is hot and anxious, and he will naturally send the benefits up. This set has been tried and tested to deal with men. She is very experienced. As for business, what business can she have? Jinfei's is not her Lu Xiaoli's. But when Eric leaves tomorrow, he will still fart across the Pacific Ocean. Maybe today will be the last chance, and the daylilies will be cold early tomorrow morning. Gritting her teeth, Lu Xiaoli opened her mouth and said, Mr. Cooper, if Fei Fei wants to go to Hollywood to develop, can you help her? I said it, practice kung fu and acting skills, and she will be able to go. Eric said lightly. No, I mean, can you give her some special care? What do you mean? You don't want her to be the heroine directly, do you? Or tailor a work for her? Is that okay? Lu Xiaoli's eyes lit up. Of course no. Hollywood is not engaged in charity. With her performance in The Family of Gold Powder, her acting skills can't even compare to many group performances. She is not qualified. You. Lu Xiaoli was angry. Ms. Liu, don't you think it's abrupt to ask this kind of question when you meet for the second time? And let me tell you, American men are not humorous at all. They are more realistic than Huaxia. In addition, if you don't want your daughter to be a star, there is another way to be accepted by Hollywood, and that is a star. Are you willing to let her take it off? In an instant, Lu Xiaoli was struck by lightning. Don't look at me with such ugly eyes, Ms. Liu. It's such a realistic place. If this is the business you want to talk about, then I don't see any benefit from it. I really want to rest. Eric ordered the eviction, but Lu Xiaoli didn't seem to want to leave like that. She stared at Eric and suddenly said, It's okay to take it off. What? This time changed to Eric surprised. But I'm off. Reviewed again. On the plane, looking at his boss's listless appearance, Xing ordered a cup of tea. Boss, haven't you had the strength of yesterday's wine? Drink some tea. The elders of my family say that tea is very useful for sobering up. Eric took a sip of his tea and said, Go get a pillow or something. I twisted my waist last night and need a pad. Sitting by the window, rubbing the sour position, Eric couldn't help but sigh. What are the damn 30 wolves and 40 tigers? He felt it last night. When Lu Xiaoli took off, he knew what business the other party was going to discuss, although it was not accurate, but it was indeed worth hundreds of millions. I also had some alcohol last night, coupled with the experience of the Chinese entertainment industry in my previous life. I have to say that this woman really aroused his desire. And a week without venting, it's a huge pressure for a young guy. Look at those high school students, college students. There are a lot of people once a day. In short, it comes down to Eric's failure to resist Lu Xiaoli's temptation. And this half-aged did not disappoint him. Her business ability is quite strong, and her perennial dancing foundation makes her extremely flexible. All kinds of difficult moves are used, and some of the methods have amazed Eric, a veteran player. The two fought until 6 o'clock in the morning, and this girl was even better than Elena Olsen. Eric felt swollen and uncomfortable, and when the other party left, he even threw a wink, saying that he would have a chance to continue next time. At that moment, he felt like he was being used. Then he got up after sleeping for less than an hour. How could Eric not be tired? Now his eyelids were rolling, and he had to get a good night's sleep on the plane. As for Lu Yifei's question, Eric is still strong. Don't think that you have to give it to you when you sleep, and it is still up to me to give it or not. It's okay to come to Hollywood if you want to, but it's still the same premise. Find a reliable teacher to learn kung fu and practice your acting skills well. 2 years later, when Louis Fei was 18 years old, if she met these two conditions and became famous in China, MGM could sign a contract with her for works. As for what level of work and what configuration of the role, it depends on her level at the time and maybe her mother's dedication. In fact, it is a verbal promise, which is equivalent to an insurance for Louis Fei's future. After all, it's just asleep, looking at Lu Xiaoli's satisfied expression when she leaves. Who really suffers doesn't know yet. Los Angeles International Airport. Eric, who had slept all the way, finally regained his energy, and after half a day of flight, he didn't eat a mouthful, and now his stomach began to growl. The driver, Peter, stopped the car and helped Xing load a large number of small gifts brought from Huaxia into the trunk. "Boss, where do you want to go?" Looking at the time, it was less than 7:30, and he originally planned to come back and go to the crew first. The filming of Transformers has been going on for 2 months, and under Eric's manipulation, the progress is very fast. The exterior scenes have been completed, and now only the scenes in the studio are left, so the crew has returned to Los Angeles. In his idea before he came back, he got off the plane and went to the crew to comfort Godot's little beauty, and then fought fiercely with Sevi until late at night. It's just that I didn't expect to be given a quick start by Lu Xiaoli, so naturally I am not in a hurry to go to the crew. I think about it or go home to see my mother, the woman who loves herself in the world. The car drove all the way to Beverly Hills, and with a specially selected gift, Eric suddenly entered the house.
Surprise.
In the living room, Dad is watching TV, and the babysitter and Mom are preparing dinner. Hearing Eric's voice, the three of them were startled, but when they saw his face clearly, they immediately laughed happily again. Mom put down the plate and walked up quickly to hug Eric. A week ago, she was still angry with her son, because her son was actually involved with a divorced woman who was more than 10 years older, even if it was a big star, and there was no shortage of women of this status in the Cooper family. However, after knowing that Eric had gone to Huaxia, there was only worry left in his heart. Although her son calls every day to report that she is safe, as a mother, she is still worried, and all she may do is pray. "My baby, I'm so happy to see you come back safely, thank God." "Yes, thank God." After kissing his mother, Eric put the gift on the table. "Not only did I return safely, but I also brought you beautiful gifts, and now I'm going to take a shower, and you guys will take it apart and tell me how you feel in a moment." After saying that, he walked up to the bathroom on the second floor, and after washing, he changed into a home suit and went downstairs. In the living room, my mother was holding a silk scarf tied around her neck. "Eric, this scarf is great. The color is so beautiful and it feels good on the skin. There is no grit at all." Eric walked over and tied a flower to his mother. "Mom, this is the right way to do it. It's made of the best silk. Take it to the party, and you'll be the center of attention." Mom couldn't stop laughing. "I like this silk scarf, Eric, or you're the most caring, Joshua. Not only does he not go home, he hasn't brought us a gift for so long since he went to San Francisco." "Yes, Joshua sucks. Mom, I've heard that the style of the team is very bad. Especially the relationship between the cheerleaders and the players is complicated. You have to pay attention." Speaking of Joshua, Eric naturally wants to take revenge on the mocking revenge. Dad took a bottle of liquor and looked at it carefully under the light. "Look at these little guys. Why are there so many things in the wine, Eric? What are they?" Eric smiled mysteriously. "I can't tell, but it's all good things. You can experience the effect tonight if you have a drink during dinner." "Effect? What effect?" asked Dad curiously. "I can't say that. You have to experience it yourself." "Well, let me see what good stuff you've brought me." Dad laughed. "This bottle of wine is naturally a good thing, and Han Sanping specially gave it when he left. saying that it is an exclusive secret recipe configuration, nourishing and nourishing the kidneys, which is most suitable for high-ranking people in the entertainment industry like them. There's no way this circle is really more expensive for him. Even the sexy little nanny sweetly said thank you, and Eric brought her a set of traditional Chinese handmade dolls, including Dashing, Neza, Erlang God, etc., with exquisite styles and very popular with young people. At the dinner table, the two fathers and sons chatted about what had happened at MGM this week. Eric, the whale rider that you bought from the Sundance Film Festival is completely finished, and it ended up grossing $52.3 million, and I'm talking about the global box office. It broke $50 million, which is not a big surprise, and I thought $40 million was the upper limit of it. Then you should be thankful for New Zealand and Australia, which outperform Europe at the box office, which is not very rare, and it can make us a small profit. Dad laughed. HBO had already piloted the first episode of The Walking Dead, and Zach Thomas called me over, and in the old guy's words, it was quite an explosion. According to the user feedback collected by HBO, 87% of subscribers gave an expectant rating, but a small percentage thought that the series was too scary, especially to frighten children, so it was recommended to broadcast after 10 o'clock and wait until the children went to sleep. "What's Thomas's attitude?" asked Eric. Dad glared and grinned. "What kind of attitude can this old dog have?" He begged me to make sure that the following episodes were produced well, and as for the broadcast time, it was set for April 15th, of course. It was placed in prime time. HBO is not stupid. How could they give up 90% of users for the sake of 10% of users? And even if a child is scared by zombies, it is the responsibility of the family, and who in the United States does not know that the large scale is HBO's signature. Eric, you've been in the circle for a relatively short time. I don't know that I've known Zach Thomas for many years. This is the first time he took the initiative to beg me, and now thinking about that call, I'm still very excited, haha. On the other side of the table, my mother gently cut off a piece of bread. It's not a matter of the length of the circle. Your father and Zach Thomas are high school classmates, but they are members of the school team, and your father is responsible for delivering water. Poof. Eric laughed out loud. It is estimated that his father was bullied in high school, and maybe he was also bullied by the American. Otherwise, there is nothing to be excited about on a phone call. Dad glared at Mom, as if blaming her for being talkative, and then changed the subject. By the way, the producer reported that Get Out of Desperate Town has begun casting, and I have a candidate to recommend for the black actor. Eric, who was eating chicken thighs, raised his head, and his father spread his hands. No way. This young man's agent is my old friend, and he recommended it the last time he auditioned for Transformers, and I told him that it was. But you can't refuse a person twice. What's the actor's name? How old is he? What works have he starred in? This actor is Anthony Mackie. He is not yet 25 years old this year, and he hasn't been in the industry for too long, but he has already won an Obie Award last year. Eric's eyes lit up. I have won the Obie Award, so at least there is a guarantee in terms of acting. Let him go to Winziren to audition. If there is a difficult situation, you can give priority to this. Anthony Mackie. Yes, Anthony Mackie. Strange. I always thought it was a familiar name, but suddenly I couldn't remember it. Maybe you've seen him play a small role. Probably. Regarding the movie Get Out, the only role that has been confirmed is Kala Savini, who will play the heroine. Sevi is 27 years old this year, and it is not incompatible with the 25-year-old male lead. After eating, the father and son came to Leontai. What was said at the dinner table did not need to be kept secret, and what was said now could not be heard by others. Dad drank the last sip of liquor in the cup, and the spicy taste made him frown, and his eyes were about to squeeze into a slit. Eric, if this wasn't a gift you brought back on purpose, I wouldn't have taken a sip anyway. The taste would kill me. Seeing his embarrassed look, Eric laughed. Dad, You'll soon appreciate the benefits. By the way, how is it going regarding Robert Solney's stake? After drinking the water slowly, Dad's face was still ugly. Everything is going well. This guy really started to sell his shares in Double Star Entertainment, and I have already sent someone to contact him for $315 million. Just over $300 million? I thought he was going to offer at least $400 million. Eric was a little surprised. For this price, he is relatively satisfied, which is basically in line with the value of Double Star Entertainment. Even if there is a premium, it is not much. It is within the acceptable range. Yes, Robert Solney wasn't as stupid as we thought. He was asking for $350 million at first. But as I put pressure on the private equity fund, he suddenly had several more competitors, and under pressure, Solney finally lowered the price to $315 million. There's still a bit of room to fall, but I'm worried that someone else will get in and get a kick in the way, and it's better to fall into the bag than to make a difference. After the contract is signed in the past few days, Solney is equivalent to saying goodbye to Double Star Entertainment. Eric nodded. His father was doing things safely. He was always reassured. At this time, Xiao Leon Cooper changed his words. However, although this acquisition went relatively smoothly, it also greatly consumed the company's liquidity, plus your investment in Huaxia. Although the initial capital is only $20 million, but according to the plan, the investment will be increased to $50 million in October. In addition, the company's projects to be launched and underway now include Transformers, Legally Blonde 2, Barbershop 2, Chainsaw 2, A Quiet Place, Happy Death Day, Hold Your Breath, The Hangover, Adele's Life, Get Out, The Walking Dead, Frozen, and so on, as well as the La Vie en Rose you talked about before you left. And then there's the little guy Billy, who, although he's been out on the outside, is still satisfying as long as he can get results, and the royalties for works like Game of Thrones, American Gods, and House of Cards have spent more than $13 million so far. In addition, some time ago, you were going to run an online film and television platform, and you also had a dating network, right? I'm really not very proficient in young people's things, and I allocated $10 million to the Silicon Valley gang. I don't know when the project will start, but it will cost $10 million before it starts, and once it does get moving, it will be a money-burning machine. After listening to his father's review, Eric realized that MGM had so many projects going on at the same time, and Hasbro still had a lot of money on his side. He is mainly responsible for production and planning, and his father is mainly supervising the funding problem, and he is really a good father. So many accounts are pressed on his head, and he has never complained to himself. If this had been replaced by an ordinary partner, Eric's behavior would have been stopped a long time ago, not to mention that the film and television company engaged in the internet. This article would not be acceptable. Eric scratched his head a little embarrassedly. Is there a lot of pressure? AK Films, the box office share of Sharknado, has arrived. Let's allocate some of it first.
It seemed more comfortable
to say it, and Charlie Cooper smiled. Don't get me wrong, son. I'm not complaining. At least I can handle it for now. It's just that it takes more time to get those people to pay in advance. And when The Walking Dead airs on April 15th, as long as the effect is explosive enough, I will immediately urge Zach Thomas, that old guy, to end the payment and forgive him for not daring to disobey me. It's strange. How can it feel hot in the body, like there is a fire burning? Xiaoli, come and take a bath. I've got the water ready. Inside. My mother shouted. This voice suddenly made my father a little flustered, and his thoughts seemed to go back to when he was young. I'm here, dear. Hi, Nico, I'm back. Lying in bed, Eric called Nicole Kidman, who hadn't been in touch for a few days, and was a little hungry for this big beauty. Probe the wind first. If it is appropriate, make an appointment. It is a bit dangerous to sneak away directly like last time. Nicole Kidman's soft voice came from the other side of the phone. Eric, when are you back? Just today, not long after I got home. I just had dinner. Are you home? What do you want to do? It's nothing. I brought you a gift. I want to give it to you personally. Otherwise, how can I show my sincerity? Nicole Kidman's chuckle suddenly sounded on the other side. Dear Eric, then you may have to pounce. Why? You're not at home. Yes, seeing you go abroad to hide for a few days, I thought it would be a good idea, so I left, and now I'm in Australia, and I'm back home. Huh. Eric was a little disappointed. Don't be such a dear, I'll be back in a few days. Now our limelight has almost dissipated. Thanks to Halle Berry, she robbed me of the queen. This time it's even, baby. Wait for me for a few more days, okay? Across the Pacific Ocean, what else could Eric say? The whip is too long. Okay, if I knew I wouldn't be going back to the United States, I should have flown directly to Australia to find you. We can spend a vacation together. The climate is just right there. Yes, it's autumn here, the coziest season, but why don't you contact me? It's been a week, and if you contact me even once, I think you'll know where I am. Maybe we're already in Sydney for the opera. Being suddenly countered to the army, Eric laughed dryly. Nico, you misunderstood this matter. I went to Huaxia to work. Avoiding the paparazzi is just by the way. The itinerary has been set a long time ago. Even if there is no business for us, I will go. You don't know how busy it is. There's so much to deal with, but I only have a week, so every night is a drink and a party that I can't hide. Every time I finish drinking, I have to hold the toilet bowl and vomit for a long time and then faint in bed unconscious. But in my dreams, I often have your shadow as a companion. I miss you, Nico. Eric said these words as sincerely as possible, but this kind of sweet talk coaxed Godot as a girl, but Nicole Kidman's immunity was obviously not comparable to that of little Neezy. She snorted a few times in a cute nasal voice, like a coquettish aggrieved puppy, but then her tone took a big turn. Eric, although I am very touched by your words, what I want to ask is, why don't you contact me? You have a week. Why don't you contact me? Mom. Okay, I hear you. Come here. I'm sorry, Nico. I have something to do. Eric yelled directly into the air and hung up. Australia, looking at the phone that suddenly hung up, Nicole Kidman angrily and funny threw the phone on the sofa. What's the matter, daughter? It looks like someone has you off. Next to him, the old father asked while drinking beer. Nothing, just a little bastard. Old man looked at her and laughed and teased. Wow, he seems to be an unusual little bastard, and I have a chance to introduce him to me. Daddy. Nicole Kidman's eyes widened. Honey, okay, I hear you. Come here. The old man shouted into the air, and then flashed nimbly. The crew of Transformers. Patty Jenkins looked through the rest of the filming plan. Neil Blomkamp organized the setup, and the actors arrived one after another to check in. Suddenly, hearing someone next to him shouting, "Director," Patty Jenkins subconsciously responded and looked up to see Eric walking into the studio not far away. Chris Evans, Gal Gadot, and a lot of people gathered around. She was stunned for a moment, and then realized that she was the assistant director, but Eric had been offline, which gave her the illusion. It's okay, it's almost over anyway, and I can start filming The Female Devil in the second half of the year. Reassuring himself, Patty Jenkins hurried up. Don't worry, I know you all miss me and are looking forward to my return. Now as you wish, and I have brought gifts for everyone. Eric pointed behind him as he spoke. Chin-Shing and Peter were carrying a large bag, and the two heavy bags were small gifts brought from Huaxia. Everybody's got a share. Everybody came and got a gift. Oich. The people who were originally around Eric instantly dispersed and surrounded Chin-Shing and Peter in one go. Patty Jenkins clasped his hands to his chest. Look at them. They're full of energy in an instant. But Eric, you are really the most comfortable director in the world. You have been away from the team for 23 days in a row. This is unimaginable. I am very sure of one thing. That is, no director or any crew in the world will not have this kind of thing. Hearing that the other party was a little angry, Eric immediately gave her a thumbs up and praised, "Patty, I dare to do this because of you. You are a very good director. A large crew like Transformers. There are not many people in Hollywood who can play it, but you did it." But he didn't say that it was okay, and when he said that, Patty Jenkins felt even more aggrieved. "Yes, that sounds great, but I always feel like irony, after all. Every shot I shoot is done under your control, and instead of making me feel relaxed, it makes me more tired at times."
Eric has always been kinder
to himself and his work, and he also likes to speak openly and honestly, so Patty Jenkins also bluntly spit bitterness. She thinks she is a film practitioner with some artistic accomplishments, but in fact, she prefers to shoot some literary and artistic works, or let commercial works have no lack of literary and artistic elements. But in Eric's hands, he was like a marionette, and this feeling made Patty Jenkins very uncomfortable. In fact, when encountering this situation, all directors should be very uncomfortable because everyone who becomes a director has a strong desire to express themselves in their hearts, and suppression makes people painful. "Okay, Piety, I know what you mean. I promise that you can shoot The Witch with confidence and boldness. MGM is only responsible for investment and does not interfere in the shooting, okay?" Patty's face is much better. "Now that the filming of Transformers is nearing completion, it will take me about half a month to complete it alone, but if you get involved, I think a week will be enough." "Yes, as long as there are no special circumstances this week. I will stay in the crew for the whole time, and we will strive to finish it in 5 days." While everyone was sharing the gifts, Eric slipped into the dressing room alone. As soon as the door was closed, Godot had already rushed over and pressed him into the chair. Two tight and slender legs straddled Eric's body, and his hands tightly wrapped around his back and began to kiss. After a few minutes of wet French kisses, Eric gently brushed her sideburns away. "Your eyes are about to draw, miss. Then you should understand how much I miss." Godot's enthusiasm made Eric horny, and just as he was wandering around the girl's neck, ready to explore deeper, the call headset on the table suddenly rang. "Godot, where are you?" Hearing Neil Blomkamp's voice, Godot woke up instantly. "Damn. I forgot that it's going to be my role right now, and I have to prepare." Eric grabbed her. "I'm the director. I have the final say. Whoever I let me film, I will shoot whomever I want." "Yes, so do you think Patty and Neil will look for you? You're the director, after all." Eric was speechless, and that was indeed the truth. Patty can be responsible when he doesn't come, and if Patty is still responsible when he comes, isn't he coming for nothing? Shaking his head, he was too ostentatious in the crew after all, and took out a delicate small box from his pocket. "I bought it for you, a very beautiful stud earring that the people out there don't deserve." Special gift represents being treated specially, which naturally surprises Godot. She opened the box with a smile and slapped Eric in the face. "It's a pity that there are requirements for filming and you can't bring jewelry, so Godot can only carefully put away the box and send a fragrant kiss in the air, so she sneaks out of the dressing room." Sighing, Eric began to suppress desire. Women have an advantage in this regard, and they will not be noticed in general, and men's is too obvious. After a few minutes, getting his somewhat wrinkled garment straight, he pulled open the doorknob.
Bang!
Suddenly, a figure rushed in, and the two bumped into each other, and Eric was knocked back into his chair again. Oops. Naturally, it was Colo Savini, who suddenly rushed in, and he didn't see her just now, thinking that she had finished leaving the crew. "Eric, you bastard, why are you in the dressing room?" asked Colasavini viciously. I'm answering the phone. Of course I need a quiet environment." "Really? But I saw Godot sneaking in, too. What's so strange about this? Is the powder room my exclusive space?" "Let me see." As she spoke, Sevigny's hand went straight down, and she stuck out her tongue and slid it gently over Eric's face. It's wet. It looks like someone is doing something bad.
Ugh.
Handle is held, but the momentum cannot be weak. Eric nodded, his tone a little low. Yes, it's you. Okay. Then we're going to do bad things. What? Eric was a little embarrassed. He knew with his ass that Godot must be secretly paying attention to this. Maybe he had already found Sevigny sneaking in, and if he hadn't gone out for a long time, he might have attracted suspicion. Has just coaxed Xiao Nizi. If he is arrested, even if the whole crew is on his side, he can't explain it clearly. Don't worry, I'm watching. No one notices me coming in, especially Godot. Sevigny's tongue continued to wander, as if he knew what Eric was worried about, and gave him a precautionary shot. It's a quick fix. Pushing Sevigny against the door to prevent others from breaking in, and without any foreplay, Eric began a wild sprint. 10 minutes later, he walked out of the dressing room with a complacent look, and luckily no one came in between, only the young Wonder Woman peeking at him. Eric, why did it take you so long to come out? Asked Godot, suspicious. Baby, I need to calm my desires. You're so spicy, it's hard, you know? Hearing her boyfriend praise her for her charm, Godot felt sweet in her heart, but it was still a little strange. It doesn't take so long. You'll find out soon. Don't blame me when you can't stand it anymore. The girl's face turned red instantly, and she secretly pinched Eric and ran away. Transformers Game 133, Action. Patty Jenkins gave the order, and the crew began today's work, while Eric looked through the shooting plan and past footage. It is better to understand the specific shooting schedule first, and the director has done it to the point that he is indeed the first person in film and television. At this moment, Sevigny appeared behind him like a ghost. Bastard, you're hurting me. Eric didn't feel guilty. He knew that the other party had some attributes. You brought it on yourself, chick. And why are you still on the set? Your scenes should have all been filmed. I think Tom Hardy, Fassbender, they have all left. You're going to drive me away, man. You don't recognize anyone when you put on your pants. Eric swept left and right. Miss, if your voice is louder, the crew next door can hear it clearly. And of course, I'm not trying to drive you away. I'm just having other jobs arranged for you. What? Don't you remember? When I was in Santa Monica, I said there was a new play in which you were the heroine. Sevigny's face was instantly happy, and then he asked cautiously, won't it be another Maverick genre film? Of course not, it's a horror film. The director of Chainsaw is in charge. I was involved in writing the screenplay. Believe me, this film is sure to be a big hit, and you will soon get rid of the label of a genre film actor. Sevigny smiled and suddenly pecked Eric in the face, then walked out of the studio happily. 5 days later, Eric kept his promise to stay on the set the whole time, and the filming progress accelerated abruptly. As Chris Evans roared and raised his arms, the hideous expression was perfectly presented in the camera, and the final scene was finally filmed. Eric shouted, "Okay, that's great. I'm announcing that Transformers is finished."
Oich.
The entire crew was immediately plunged into a sea of applause and cheers, and after 64 days, the blockbuster was finally filmed. This speed has broken the average length of film shooting, but it has been bought with a lot of overtime. Now, they can enjoy a few days of leisurely vacation, and unless they want to reshoot in the later stage, it has nothing to do with the vast majority of people. In Los Angeles, in front of the Double Star Entertainment Company building, a Lincoln business car slowly stopped. Eric stepped out of it and strode into it. From today onwards, Double Star Entertainment doesn't just belong to the Olsen sisters. Cooper's name will be printed on it. As for Robert Solnay, it is said that he took the money in exchange for shares to go to a private equity fund, hoping to take a stake in MGM. But I can only wish him good luck. After all, there can be many reasons to reject a person. For example, a simple sentence is that "You are late, sir." Our place was just filled yesterday, and we are sorry that we are willing to continue to serve you next time. Or maybe MGM put the financing plan on hold for a while, and you ask me, how do I know why? I'm just an intermediary. Anyway, they have a way. As for whether Solnay will be angry and explode, will he suspect that he has been tricked? Will he take up legal weapons? Maybe, but it's useless, because the regulation of private equity funds is too difficult and inherently hidden. Not to mention China. Even the United States has a lot of loopholes in regulation. At least before the 2008 financial crisis, the regulation of private equity was relatively broad, and after the financial crisis, it began to become more and more stringent. You don't need to register with the Securities and Futures Commission. You don't need to be subject to the requirements of CRS, etc. You take the lead and fight a lawsuit with me. Besides, didn't Lao Tzu give you money? Not only gives, but even belongs to the premium. You are the beneficiary. Why should you sue me? This kind of lawsuit lawyer group can accompany you for a few years, and in the end, you will most likely not win. So people who are smarter will take $300 million to start a new business, instead of tossing around. If you really choose to take the legal route, then this money, as one of the important evidence, can also be frozen. After holding the shareholders' meeting of Double Star Entertainment, announcing Eric's identity, and meeting with the middle and senior management of the company, he came to the office of the Olsen sisters. The meeting was actually quite simple, because there were only 5 shareholders, 2 sisters, Eric and Olsen, their father David and mother Garniti. Now Double Star Entertainment has 45% of the shares, Ashley Olsen 22.5%, Mary Olsen 22.5%, David 5%, and Ganetti 5%. Eric has replaced Robert Solney's role, but it is obviously too early to step in the operation of Double Star Entertainment. On the one hand, he has just joined the company, and he is not yet familiar with the business. On the other hand, the other party is obviously a family member and will definitely guard against him and will definitely unite to resist him if necessary, which is why Solnay can't really control the Olsen sisters. Nice office, very girly. Looking at the colorful dolls on the table and the various decorations in the cupboard, Eric said half teasingly and half praisingly. Ashley raised the corners of her mouth. It's beautiful, aren't they? These are my and Mary's favorite collections. Yes, very tasteful. Are these dolls your sisters themselves? Eric picked up a doll and looked at it closely and found that it was somewhat similar to the 2 girls in front of him. Most of them are us, but there are special ones that test your eyesight, Mary Olsen said. Hearing this, Eric carefully searched through the doll pile and soon found a small doll. Whose image is this smaller one made after? Pretty fast. She's from our sister, little Elizabeth. Elizabeth Olsen? Because the current AO May is still more than 10 years away from the future Scarlet Witch, before starring in Marvel movies. According to Eric's memory, Elizabeth Olsen's fame has not been very good. Even though she has also participated in commercial blockbusters such as Godzilla, her status has never rushed to the first-line position of the new generation of actors. Not in a few years, let alone now. I haven't heard that Elizabeth Olsen also starred in a well-known production when she was a teenager. Eric's naked questioning attitude immediately made the 2 sisters who loved their sister very unhappy, and the 2 of them frowned and glared at him together. Eric Cooper, if little Elizabeth knew that you said this about her, she would be very sad. She is your... What? Eric looked at them confusedly. When did I have fans? I'm not an actor. I can only be regarded as a screenwriter and director at most. Ashley spread her hands helplessly and said in a sad tone, she is still young. She can't tell the difference between reality and imagination. Your beautiful face is really deceptive. Oh, I understand when you say that. Eric nodded with satisfaction. This face is my second most satisfying part, not to mention a little girl. Many big stars still can't resist its temptation. Hearing this, Mary made a retching expression. Narcissistic men are disgusting. Where's the first satisfying part? Asked Ashley curiously. Girls, you can't just say this part, it's already NC-17. Hearing him open her mouth, Ashley instantly rolled her eyes. Why was she so stupid, knowing that she must be there to ask? Do I subconsciously want to flirt with him? Damn, this handsome face is really deceitful. He's a dangerous guy who can get Robert Solnay away by means. But he's really handsome. I'm a little conflicted. Sober up, Ashley. Knock, knock. There was a knock on the office door. Given herself 2 big fights in her mind, Ashley Olsen hastened to get herself back to normal. Boss, this is what you want, a summary of the company's operations in recent years. Thank you, Hall. It's none of your business, get out. Eric picked up the report and looked at it. Mary glanced at the thickness of dozens of pages and chose to walk out of the office. Ashley shook her head slightly. Eric, if you want to know about Double Star Entertainment, I can share it with you. It's okay. I still like to see for myself. This is our common property in the future. I have to get to know it well. As the 2 sisters left, Eric studied the report numbers, and before he knew it, more than an hour had passed. Xing brought in a cup of coffee, saw Eric frowning, and asked, Boss, do you need to call Sister Olsen? Eric waved his hand and motioned for the other to go out. The reason why he frowned was because he saw that the performance of Double Star Entertainment was declining year after year, and he reacted subconsciously. The peak of the company's turnover was in 1997, when the Olsen sisters were only 12 years old, and it was when their TV series was at its most influential. The 2 sisters have not yet grown up, and their young appearance is more attractive to their main consumer children. Today, however, sales have shrunk by more than 40%, and even the production lines of its factories have been forced to sell off. The relationship between Solnay and the Olsen family should have been good at that time, and many measures were taken to save themselves. But the effect was never good. This can't be helped. The core competitiveness is the 2 sisters. They are both stars and products, and the products naturally can't be sold when their fame declines. However, Shuangxing Entertainment's business is still relatively extensive. In addition to conventional digital commodities such as DVDs, videotapes, and audio products, there are also doll figures, children's clothing, educational stationery, jewelry, gifts, food, snacks, etc., and the development of the 2 sisters' IP is very high, at least much higher than MGM. For example, MGM's peripheral products. What I am doing are digital products such as DVDs and videotapes, and the others are mainly IP licensing and obtaining some copyright fees, most of which have been taken away by others. The reason is very complicated. There is Kerkorian's nonsense. Under the operation of this casino tycoon, MGM can survive the rest of his life, and he has no energy to engage in other development. In addition, the sales network is also a big problem. In this regard, Double Star Entertainment has done a very good job after many years of operation, and the products can be fully covered in North America. It can also be covered in most countries in Europe, and there are also outlets in Australia and New Zealand, but sales are not high. The report also mentioned that Double Star Entertainment actually had plans to enter South America and Asia, but when they entered South America, the Olsen sisters had already passed their peak. Not only did it lead to a failure to enter the market, but it also caused a large backlog of products, and the company lost a lot of money. After losing South America, plans to enter Asia were also put on hold, and the majority of sales are now in North America, followed by Europe. After reading it, Eric has a basic understanding of Double Star Entertainment, and the biggest wealth it can bring to MGM is undoubtedly a mature sales network. This step alone can save MGM a lot of time, which can be counted in years. Dialing Ashley's phone, Eric took the elevator and continued upwards, finally to the sisters' exclusive lounge. There was a knock on the door, and soon the door was opened, and a little girl stood there smiling. Long blonde hair, big eyes, and although the face has not yet grown, it is already somewhat similar to the two sisters. Needless to say, naturally the future Scarlet Witch, Elizabeth Olsen. You. Eric's mouth opened, and the girl on the other side was already covering her face and screaming. Eric Cooper, it's really you. It turns out Mary didn't lie to me. With that, she ran to the table, took out a beautiful photo book from her school bag and handed it to Eric. Sign it for me, Eric. Ashley lay on the massage chair and said in a sigh of relief, I told you, she's a big fan. I asked her not to go to the office to disturb you. Thank me. Looking at the immature A.O. May in front of him, especially the eyes that seemed to be starry, Eric felt quite strange. I even have fans. She is still such a cute little girl. It seems that her good looks are really lethal. Smiling and touching A.O. May's little head, Eric took the photo. Where's the sign? This is my first signature. I've never done it before. The first, really? Exclaimed Elizabeth in surprise. Yes, so can you guide me? Elizabeth turned the first page, and it was a posture curled up on the couch in white stockings. Damn. This is too Lolita. Which bastard photographer chose it? Eric couldn't help but complain. Sign it here. Write it for Elizabeth Olsen, my first fan, and wish her a big star. A.O. May excitedly pointed to the white stockings. After Eric finished signing, she carefully put it away, for fear of breaking it. Then he moved a small couch and sat down next to Eric. Eric, Mary said that Solnay guy was chased away by you, and you will be our partner from now on, right? Eric nodded. It can be understood that way. It's awesome. I hate that guy so much. He's always staring at me and my sister with bad intentions. Greasy middle-aged men. I hate them just as much. And you're going to help Ashley and Mary make a movie? That's right, it's going to start soon, and sadly, there's no character in there for you. It's okay, they've already told me. What kind of movie is this? Eric was silent. How should he answer this question? Elizabeth, you go play by yourself for a while. We still have to talk about work, and you can come over to Chase Stars after you finish talking about business, okay? At the critical moment, Ashley stood up to solve the siege, and the two sisters were also embarrassed by this topic, so they never talked about it with their families. A.O. May smiled sweetly at Eric and left the lounge obediently. What a lovely little girl. Yes, so if there is a suitable role, don't forget Elizabeth, who is also working in the direction of the actor. The second sister, Mary said. No problem, as long as there is a suitable opportunity, but let's talk about cooperation first. I finished reading the report, and the situation of Double Star Entertainment is not very good. The root of the problem is not difficult to find. It has been walking on one leg for too long, so if you want Double Star Entertainment to rise again, you must break the business mode with your sisters as the core. Speaking of business, both sisters sat up straight. What good advice do you have? Not yet. I'm not a business whiz after all, but one thing I can decide right away is the co-branded bundle of brands and IP. The Olsen sisters' brand value has now reached its upper limit, and if Adele's life can complete a big breakthrough, it is possible to drive the commercial value of your sisters. But it won't take at least half a year to see results, so we need new growth points that can be seen immediately. So I'm going to have MGM's IP linked up with your sisters, for example, the Pink Panther, which is a good fit, and MGM can make a fun little short film of a few minutes, so that your cartoon characters have an interesting story with the Pink Panther. Then new product lines are launched and consumers like new and interesting things. In addition, regarding the issue that your market main body is a child, you can take the form of linkage with classic works such as 007 series, Legally Blonde, Rain Man, Tarzan, RoboCop, Silence of the Lambs, and other classics. It's hard to say if it's useful, but it's always good to give it a try. Wait, what does the Silence of the Lambs mean? Mary Olsen interrupted. I just blurted out. Maybe it can be made into a Halloween costume. Hannibal likes to eat people. Anyway, MGM has a lot of film and television resources. We can use it, right? The closed production line can also be restarted, and this is all our cost. What about the license fee? Ashley looked at with some hopes. Young Eric, the way of big IP linkage. Double Star Entertainment has long wanted to try, but the problem is that it can't afford the copyright fee, and the idea has not been implemented. Of course, it's a discounted price. After all, we're partners now. Sister. Olsen suddenly smiled, and suddenly felt that it was not bad to cooperate with a large company, and the benefits came in an instant. At noon, he had a meal with the three Olsen sisters and promised to take little Elizabeth to MGM's studio another day, and Eric got out. The collaboration with the Olsen sisters has officially begun, and it is good for them to give them a taste of sweetness and re-establish the brand. What's more important is to deepen the deep binding between Double Star Entertainment and MGM, when the product will not sell or sales will plummet due to the lack of MGM support, that is, when the Olsen sisters are most dependent on Eric. Of course, 45% of the shares cannot satisfy Eric, even if he does not pursue full control, at least absolute control. Otherwise, Eric can use means to get rid of Robert Solnay today, and tomorrow he may become the new Solnay. Eric is willing to only charge a low royalty, of course, not because he likes to play for charity, but this account will have to be paid by the Olsen sisters at a greater price in the future. The next day, the official websites of MGM and Double Star Entertainment announced the cooperation at the same time, and at the same time announced the production plan of Adele's life, which did not appear in the depiction of lesbians, but was replaced by reflecting the emotional life of girls. The Olsen sisters also attended an event and took the opportunity to promote the film, saying that it would be a transformational work for the two sisters. They want to use this movie to tell everyone that the children have grown up and the sisters are no longer the little girls they once were, but at the same time, they also said that if they fail, they will choose to quit the circle and concentrate on business. The word quitting the circle was naturally mentioned by the media, and it attracted a lot of traffic for a while, and the two sisters, who had not been on the entertainment version for a long time, rarely appeared on the front page, although it was not a headline, but it was not easy. There was also some speculation about the plot of the movie and discussions about the two sisters on the internet, and fans of the two of them came back to life as if they were reincarnated. On the other hand, Get Out of Desperate Town has been launched, and Eric took a look to show respect, and he still trusts Wenziren very much. At this stage, although the director's skills are not very mature, as long as he is not given too much money, as long as the background of the movie is not too grandiose, Wenziren can fully grasp it. And Get Out of Desperate Town is just a horror film with small scenes. The plot mainly revolves around a country house, and even other buildings in the town rarely appear. Is like the original Time and Space. After Wenziren filmed Chainsaw, he supervised 2 more films, and then Lionsgate invested $20 million to shoot Dead Silence for him. In Lionsgate's view, the box office of $1 million, Chainsaw, can exceed $100 million, and I will not take off if I make a big wave this time. But it turns out that they were wrong, including Wenziren, who also overestimated his own directing level. At that time, he couldn't control the big scenes, and he hadn't evolved to shoot Fast and Furious and Aquaman. Dead Silence is dismal both in terms of ratings and box office. The box office was only more than $20 million in total, and the DVD market was already sluggish at that time, so the copyright sales were also very poor, making Lionsgate lose at least more than $20 million, which is a rare failure in Wenziren's film career. However, the flowers bloom in the wall and the fragrance outside the wall, and the film has achieved a very good response in China. But is that a fart? Can you contribute a dime to Lionsgate? The internet is also an era of piracy, and Youku Tudou and the like don't buy the copyright at all, and they can't afford it. There are many similar cases, and cultural differences have led to a large gap in the tastes of Eastern and Western audiences. For example, MGM's upcoming A Quiet Place. This film was sprayed out in China, and many people are criticizing the plot for being unreasonable, There are too many bugs, and the screenwriter is simply in the water. Even the Dubon score has lost the blessing of the previous Hollywood halo, with only 6.3 points. However, the movie is very popular in the West. IMDb gave a score of 7.5, and the freshness of Rotten Tomatoes is more than 90%, which is a very high score in horror films, and the box office is very bright. Why is there such a big gap between East and West? Is it because European and American audiences don't know how to appreciate it? Is it because they are all fools? Of course not. The bug that can be seen by Chinese audiences can also be seen by European and American audiences, but their focus is not on this aspect. Unlike after the founding of the People's Republic of China, European and American horror films have always been a very popular genre, and the cost is relatively small, so they are naturally the favorite genre of major film companies. But as soon as the number is large, homogenization is inevitably serious. If you flip through the duration of European and American horror films, it will probably be clear that the plot is almost concentrated in supernatural, bloody, violent, erotic, and other pictures. The audience is already aesthetically tired, and no matter how adrenaline is rushed, it can't be soaring for decades. So when a high-concept horror film like A Quiet Place appeared, it naturally received a lot of praise, and there was even a scene where the audience and the big screen held their breath at the same time, and the immersion brought by the audiovisual picture was quite good, but the bug in the plot was ignored. On the side of AK film and television, the filming progress of Human Removal Plan has passed halfway, and it will be completed in more than half a month, and the release time is set for May 25th. In addition, 2 copycat movies have been completed, namely The Lord of the Rings and Fox Squirrel Game. Time flew by, and in the blink of an eye, it was April 15th. Eric has been in the editing room for 4 days in a row, and the editing work can only be done by him, and if other editors do it, it is likely to turn sour. Fortunately, everything is in the head, and there are not many superfluous shots. Almost all of them are cut according to the number, and the operation is particularly silky. In just 4 days, the rough cut was ready. Needless to say, how explosive this speed is. Simply put, a data, in Hollywood, a blockbuster of the level of Transformers, the average editing time is about half a year. 180 days and 4 days. The difference is more than 40 times. The next step is to send the rough cut version to Weta Digital and then add the special effects, which is the real time-consuming and labor-intensive part. In the evening, Eric drove to Godot's apartment. Today is the day of the start of The Walking Dead, and Eric promised Godot to watch it with her. Knock knock. Moments later, Via Lavari opened the door to find Godot vacuuming under the sofa with a vacuum cleaner. "Why do you do housework at night? Do you eat after eating?" asked Eric a little curiously. Valafari teased. Not only did she want to make her home spotless, but she also put on beautiful stud earrings, which are really good. "Okay, but it doesn't have to be like this. It's not the first time I've been here, and I'll be embarrassed to make it too grand." Looking at the beer and snacks he was carrying, Eric smiled. "It's not your first time, but it's the first time you've stayed for more than 10 minutes, and some people are very concerned." Hearing Barafali's teasing, Godot suddenly became embarrassed. "It's going to be over soon. Wait, I'm going to clean myself. I'm sweating a lot. You sit down first, Eric." With that, she dragged the vacuum cleaner into the bathroom. There were only 2 people left in the room, and although they had known each other for a while, they were frankly not particularly acquainted with each other, and the 2 had never been alone. Seeing that the other party was looking at him with a pair of big eyes, Eric still felt that it was good to say something. "Luckily, The Walking Dead is finally going to air, and you're going to be a big star in no time." Balafali pouted. "It's still early, and I don't have my role in the front, so I don't know how many episodes I'll be cut." "It doesn't matter the order of appearance. The key is the charm of the characters. Some characters will appear at the beginning of the story, but they will never be remembered, and some characters can be remembered by the audience even if they only have one scene. It's always talked about, but I don't think anyone wants to have less of a role, Eric. Do you think I belong to the former or the latter? Of course it's the latter. Maggie is a charismatic character. In my conception, this character will live until the end of the show, and she will have a complete character growth arc. So I will give you this character, and you are a beautiful girl, which is a big plus. Pretty, do you think I'm pretty? After a pause, Balafali asked suddenly. She stared into Eric's eyes, and her tone changed, and there seemed to be a hint of aggression and seduction in her gaze. Getting along with women a lot, Eric became more and more sensitive to this feeling, and that kind of look he had felt from many women. What is she doing? Seduce me. Seeing Eric look at him strangely, and the sound of water coming from the bathroom again, Beryl Lavari smiled. She seemed to wriggle her ass on purpose, and returned to her bedroom on the catwalk as a model, and a moment later changed into a dress and reappeared, except that her smooth back was exposed to the air. Turning his head slightly, his eyes half open and half closed, Barafali asked for help in a soft tone. Eric, Godot is taking a shower. Can you help me close the zipper? That's right, this woman is seducing me. Determined in his mind, Eric was straightforward. Very decisively chose to refuse. Just kidding, I'm not a good person, I'm not too disciplined in my private life, and my moral level isn't high. But I'm sober. What women can and can't go. Eric has a clear heart, and Balafali obviously belongs to the kind that can't be on. This girl is more scheming, and she can see from the first time they meet that she is the same type as Zhangzi. For his own woman, Eric has a minimum requirement. That is, he does not ask for peace. You can play petty, you can make demands, but you must not stir up the wind and rain. He has a clear definition and category of his own woman. Lu Xiaoli and Nikki Caro don't count. It's purely out of interest to have a shot, and it is impossible for them to give much benefit because they have slept with each other once. At most they will sprinkle water, and it is not impossible to prostitute in vain. After all, it is impossible to say who will suffer. Like Kolo Savini and Elena Olsen, they belong to the mutually beneficial and cooperative type, and it is a luxury to talk about feelings. If the contact has not been broken over the years, maybe a relationship will be established, but it is certainly not now. Eric can naturally talk about other women's things in front of them, but he won't expose these things to Godot because Godot can talk about feelings, so he cares about the other party's feelings. Nicole Kidman belongs to the developmental type, although the two have a relationship, but the relationship is not too deep, more passionate. Whether there will be a result in the follow-up depends on whether Eric wants to continue, and on the other hand, it also depends on Nicole Kidman's meaning. The relationship between the two of them tends to be equal, and with Nico's status and charisma, there is no need to ask Eric for resources, and she keeps making appointments, which is different from Kala Savini. Then there are the Olsen sisters and Louis Fei, who belong to the cultivation type, and Eric can give them decisive help in their careers. The difference is only that the former is in captivity, and the latter is free-range. After fattening, whether you eat or not depends on the mood. If you are in a good mood, you can also earn commercial value by picking wool if you are in a bad mood. There are also Balavari and Zhangzi. They belong to the craft candy type. This kind of sassy fox will inevitably cause a fishy body. Never touch it. If it weren't for Judy's sake, Eric wouldn't have bothered her. Seeing that Eric refused to zip himself, Barafali didn't overreact, but pulled it up smoothly on his own. Then he poured a glass of water and handed it to Eric. Are you thirsty? Eric was about to take it, but Lafali hooked his hand, and the cup returned to her, and then took a sip in front of him. Sorry, I'm a little thirsty too. Eric, you don't mind. Seeing that this woman is still cheap, Eric doesn't plan to save face for her. Knock knock. I was about to slap her hard, but the door rang at an inopportune time. Leffily, are you done packing? Judy's voice rang outside the door. Forget it, it's not good to spray you in front of Judy. Spare your life this time, Eric thought as he opened the door. Judy met with a punch. Eric, you guy hasn't been to the company for a few days. Where are you hiding? I'm cutting transformers. I'll be there tomorrow. You take Leffily with you. Hearing the sound of water in the bathroom, Judy whistled and hooked her finger at Balafali. Come with me, baby. Let's leave space for this little couple. Then he squeezed his eyes again, took out a small box from his pocket and stuffed it into Eric's hand. It's for you. Remember to use it. What's that?
Bang!
The door closed, and the two left. Eric opened the box and saw a small pill lying quietly inside. Fuck,